Hi, I'm Stephanie Dyer, and this is Escape Into a Cause, the podcast about the people and nonprofits shaping Austin and helping people like you and me figure out how we can show up too. This week in Topics That Matter, we are talking about social currency. At its simplest, it is whatever holds value in a social system, the things that make us respected, connected, or influential. And when I brought it up with Courtney, I was thinking about money, fitness goals, degrees, maybe that new remodel. She, on the other hand, immediately pointed to relationships, talents, and the way we give back. And of course, this is a show about philanthropy, so that shouldn't surprise me. But I love that those were her first instincts. That contrast raises the big question. What do we actually reward more in our society? Do we love to share or hear about a Peloton streak, a new car, a new luxury bag, or how great someone's kid's doing in school or in athletics? Or how about showing up for others? Most of us would say that we actually care about generosity and showing up for others, but research suggests otherwise. For example, social media use actually raises dissatisfaction with income by 10 to 25% because we are constantly comparing ourselves to everyone else's achievements and purchases. But there's some good news is that giving back is the one kind of social currency that doesn't demand comparison because you don't have to outdo anyone. You just have to show up. And as Adam Grant puts it in his book, Give and Take, if we want to build a better world, we need to make generosity as visible as selfishness. So Courtney and I talk about the more superficial values we elevate in society and how we might raise the bar by putting helping others, including nonprofits, higher on the list. Then I sit down with Colleen Gallion, Interim Executive Director of NAMI Central Texas. Their mission is to improve the lives of everyone affected by mental illness through education, support, and advocacy. They are helping families and individuals navigate challenges, fight stigma, and build a healthier, more compassionate community. Your time, your talents, and your advocacy matter at organizations like NAMI. When you show up, it doesn't just shift your own sense of self-worth, it changes the lives of people and families facing mental health challenges right here in Central Texas. And with that, let's get started. I hope you enjoy. Hey, Courtney.
Hey, Stephanie.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I can always just start with how are you doing? I don't really know.
It's a good way to ask. No, but, and then like, how are you really? Like, oh, really? I'm checking my phone every 10 minutes. Work is crazy. School has started. So many kids after school activities.
I feel like
I feel like Uber. That's how I really am.
Yeah,
but I'll just say fine.
I feel like you, Courtney, and Lisa Barden from Keep Austin Fed. When she asks people how they're doing, they say busy. She says it's a big pet peeve of hers.
That's fair.
I feel so busy, though.
I know. We are all so busy. But yeah, to answer like busy, like, yeah. Get in line, right? I know, but I do appreciate drinks with friends or coffee with friends is always good because you can kind of be like, no, really, how are you? And like, girl, let me tell you, there's a lot going on.
Slow down and chat.
And then I try to remember perspective, right? I'm so lucky to have children who are healthy to be their Uber to go to after school activities.
We've talked about that. I get to versus I have to. We've talked about that, right?
I don't know. Have we?
I don't know. The speaker at my company, he said, when I started thinking about I get to do things versus I have to, it changes your mentality. Oh, I have to get my kid to soccer.
Yeah.
I get to take my kid to soccer.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference in your mindset. I have to go to work. I get to go to work.
I get to go to work.
I have a job. It's a good difference in the mentality. I get versus I have to.
I'm going to pocket that one, Steph. I like it.
Yeah, it's great.
Get to versus have to.
Okay, we're escaping into NAMI Central Texas. That's National Alliance on Mental Illness of Central Texas, a grassroots leader bringing mental health education, support groups, advocacy, and hope to individuals and families affected by mental illness, helping dismantle stigma and build stronger networks here in Central Texas.
That's awesome. So important.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to them. You want to talk about a topic?
Do we get to talk about a topic today, Stephanie?
We get to talk about a topic.
All right, tell me.
Social currency. When you think of social currency, this is anything that holds value in the social system, different types of currencies. Can you think of like what a social currency would be? Some examples?
We always talk about time, treasure, and talent. So are the other forms of social currency besides monetary, your talents, your skill set?
If it holds value in a social system,
yeah.
Think about this makes people maybe want to be around you more, or it could be clout,
like social status.
or it could be social status.
Yeah.
You're more likable. It's something that we think about. I'll give you the easiest currency is money.
That was an easy one. Yeah, that's the monetary one. I think the relationships that you hold, the things that you have, the contributions that you can make, right?
Yeah. When you think of January 1st.
Are we talking about vision boards now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you think of New Year's and you're like, okay, what are my goals going to be for the new year? You think a lot of people do money. A lot of people do fitness.
Yes.
You want to look more fit. People say, once I do this, everyone's going to like me and my life is going to be better. And
100%, right? I remember being a tiny attorney, being like, if I could just make $10,000 more, if I could just make, like you play that game with yourself, then all of my problems would be.
Yeah. If I was just more fit, if I was just had more money, if I had better brands, had a luxury purse.
Or if I was just a member of that club. Or
if I drove this car.
If I drove this car.
Yeah. Those are the types of like
if I
social
lived
currency.
In this zip code.
Yeah. But there's other social currency, right? Intelligence and knowledge. We know that if someone says, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, Mrs. Dickey.
Just call me Esquire. Yeah. Yes.
I am a professor. That also has a certain social currency
100%.
to it. And then connections, who you know. If you're
it's all about who you know.
If you're Matthew McConaughey's cousin, you might go around going, I'm Matthew McConaughey's cousin. That gives you a little social currency.
Well, think about social media. How many followers do you have? How many likes did that photo get?
Exactly.
Yeah,
okay,
totally.
So the question here that I want to pose is, in a culture where status symbols are tied to degrees or money or consumption or how you look, what do you think about how we can start positioning a social currency as giving back and generosity?
If you are a donor, you should get a special badge on Instagram.
Yes.
Right?
Let's do this.
Truly, like we'll create the badge. And if you've given to any nonprofit, 501c3, you get a badge.
Yeah, I like that. Everyone's going to start donating.
Of course they would. We've talked about this. They want to see their name on the list.
Right.
Everybody would, because you would immediately judge those without the special badge.
Yeah. Or it could just be like a line above and the different color shows you how much volunteer hours.
Oh, I would love that.
Gamify this somehow.
You need to gamify charitable giving. Truly.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
How do we do this? Do we just come up with an idea?
No.
Are the listeners going
I've
to...
actually been thinking about an idea for a while that's similar to Strava running. So you get badges and they're like, you're the legend because you ran the fastest for this route. Or they call you local legend. And so could you imagine, like, you're a local legend, you gave the most to charity in this zip code. Like all these little badges you could start giving. Or like you've volunteered the most hours. Don't you think that'd be great?
This is what the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society does a great job of. And so I think it's actually brilliant. Their major fundraiser is the Woman of the Year and the Man of the Year campaign. And the whole deal is, if you are a candidate for the Woman of the Year or the Man of the Year, you have to raise funds. And the person who wins the title raises the most. So you put this little campaign team around you, and they do gamify it. So whoever makes the most money this week, LLS will also put an additional $1,000 or something like that. When they approached me, I was like, again, back to the top of our conversation, like, I'm too busy. I don't have time to do this. It's really kind that you asked me, but I just don't have time. But then in the other side of my brain, the more individualistic side, I was like, Woman of the Year would sound really good.
Yeah.
I kind of like the sound of that. And so, of course, I did it. This idea of recognition and social clout.
I'm telling you, this is where I'm getting away more and more from this anonymous giving. I am like, people want to be recognized. My husband uses Strava, Brett. He's like, if I didn't put it on Strava, it didn't happen. How amazing would it be if there was an app that's like, if I didn't put it in the app, I didn't volunteer.
Yeah, or I would be embarrassed if my name was not included on it. Something like that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we need to do this.
I know.
Yeah.
Get like extra points if you're on a board, or extra points if you actually physically volunteer and not just give. There is something here, and it goes back to our conversation on community and what it means to be a part of a community, not just in the community, but to be a part of it. I think there's something really interesting here. And I love this topic of how does it become part of your social status? Because there are people on social media, I'm sure, I'm not going to drop any names because I don't know him personally, but makes a big deal of all that he gets involved with and all of his giving and contributions, and has created a personality around it. And I'm sure that he professionally benefits from it as well. Yeah. And sometimes you're like, oh, do you need all the attention? But then back to your point.
I think I know who you're talking about, but well.
I'm sure. Like everyone in Austin does, sorry. And I think he does exceptional work. But it's getting done.
Yeah.
It's drawing attention to
Brett and I've
something.
talked about
Yes.
this. We're like, oh, do you get annoyed by it or do you go, things are happening?
And I gave money to him.
Yeah.
I absolutely did. And
Yeah.
so this is a really interesting conversation. And I think it should be glorified. Like, I really do think.
I do too.
I know.
Okay, so I looked at social media and searched certain things for this topic of social currency. When I put in charity or philanthropy, it's funny that, all the top videos come up. So they do have millions of likes or whatever, but they are very influencer-like still. It seems to still be tied to money and aesthetic somehow. Or it goes back to that Tzedakah chain of, that ladder of giving.
This would be lower.
This would be lower.
I know, but it's still on the ladder.
I think charities would make so much more money if it was out there. So does that ladder really matter? I don't know. And for those that didn't listen to a past episode, the ladder means anonymous giving is one of the higher ways to giving per this Jewish tzedakah ladder of giving. Anyway, what I also started thinking about this, money is a huge currency, social currency for us. How many people are just so narrow-minded and dedicated to a good example of how money runs the show? Everyone wants to build a startup, so you go make a ton of money and you get glorified for this. So the company I work for is Atlassian. They acquired Loom, which is a video application.
I know Loom. It's so fun.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we do everything with Loom at Atlassian. But the Loom co-founder, Vinay Hiremath, has been open about experiencing significant emotional distress, including feelings of purposelessness and self-doubt after the company's $975 million sale to Atlassian in 2023. He described this period as an identity crisis following the loss of his entrepreneurial drive, unexpected emotional emptiness that came with achieving financial success, which is what he wanted his whole life. He goes into a crisis mode. He says, I am rich and I had no idea what to do with my life. He says, everything feels like a side quest, but not in an inspiring way. I have infinite freedom, yet I don't know what to do with it. And I just wanted to go back to the social currency. When we look at people who are trying to build a company from scratch, we think they're going to make it one day. We think it's tied to money and big things, but we don't look at a nonprofit founder in the same light.
No, not at all.
And it's unfortunate. It goes back to tying things to money, to that actual currency. And I'm reading this book, Smart People Build Things by Andrew Yang. All these smart people go become lawyers and doctors, and they don't go build businesses because it's the safe way. That's our system. It's how it works.
I am risk adverse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same. I'm an accountant. You're a lawyer.
Right. Like,
here we are.
I work for founders. I could never be a founder.
Right.
Yeah.
And you think smart people should be building things. And I would go one step further is I think smart people should be building nonprofits, should be running nonprofits.
Yes.
And if we had more social currency tied to giving back, that would happen.
I agree. No, I think it's such a good point. And instead it's looked as like a hobby or a side gig, or someone was telling me it's like a jobby, right? Like it's, oh, that's cute. And you're like, no, actually it's a nonprofit to try to make the world better as opposed to just giving into capitalism. Like it's actually a pretty good thing that I'm doing that people need to do.
We need to tie less things to money. You go into social media. I wrote new car. People do the confetti and they're doing slow motion videos and gets, I don't know, like 100,000 likes or something. It's wild.
It's wild. I know.
We're so happy when we get that brand new car.
I know. But not as happy when we make a significant donation or when a nonprofit raises a lot of money. I know. It's a fickle, fickle society. Gosh, we could talk about this forever. I think we do need to bring more awareness to giving. I think we need to celebrate it more. I think we need to applaud nonprofits and those who choose to start nonprofits, work in nonprofits. I love Piper at I Live Here, I Give Here. One of her priorities is that all of her employees are paid as if they work for a profit company.
As they should.
As they should. These are skilled professional individuals. The fact that they've chosen to work at a nonprofit should not discount their earning ability. I could also say that for teachers. And so if you want me to go and talk about payment reform, I'm happy to do so. But
we've touched on that in the past.
I know. I feel passionate about it. Honestly, Instagram and Facebook and Meta, if you are listening, I do think there should be a special badge for those who choose to be part of their communities by giving back. And it could be a simple, take a picture on your phone of your receipt and you will get this badge. But wouldn't it raise, not only people would want the badge because people just want to be recognized, wouldn't it be an awareness thing of, hey, a lot of people are giving. I should give. I didn't know that person was giving. And you don't have to disclose who they're giving to, but just an awareness. This is bigger than I thought it was. And for all those naysayers who say no one's giving or it's not important or people are too individualistic, like it might just be a reminder that there actually are a lot of people that care
Yeah. And I know we've talked about some people don't have the means to give, but I think even in my college days, I look back, I had $5 a month to give.
That's right.
I did.
It is celebrating the major donors next to the ones who are giving monthly $5 a month.
Yeah.
For a total of $60 a year. It's celebrating all of them.
I agree. Okay. And I'll say one last thing is that I'm going to admit that I watched something terrible.
I want to talk all about it.
Love is Blind.
I don't watch any of these. I feel like I'm missing out. Even the celebrities who watch Love is Blind or Fantasy Island or whatever, people are in it to win it.
It's the only love show that I watch.
Yeah.
So it is my one trash television.
I love it.
I mean, I have 2 trash television. I do watch Housewives as well. So those are the 2 trashy shows. I've never gotten to Bachelor or Bachelorette. I've never gotten into Fantasy Island or any of these Love Island, whatever it is. There's the boat one. There's Lisa Vanderpump. I don't know. I don't know any of those.
Yeah.
But I feel like the more I work, the more I want to just zone out and watch
I do that
one
on
of these dumb
TikTok.
shows. Okay, see, you do the same
That's
thing but on
my-
TikTok.
yes.
And I realize that the more I'm using my brain, the more I want to go just dump myself on a couch and watch something dumb.
Me too. Yes. And I do it on TikTok.
But what's amazing to me is the social currency idea is when I'm watching these housewives, Brett and I are always like, how much do you think they're giving?
Right?
We bring it up all the time. And we're being super judgy. I'm like, I think you're supposed to watch it and be judgy.
Yeah.
I think that's the point.
That's 100% the point.
But we're constantly like, wow, that's a really nice car that just came up and they're showing it off to everyone. I wonder how much they're giving. Or,
See? Okay, let's challenge those reality TV shows. When you profile these people and you talk about their wealth, you should also be required to talk about their giving.
I think so. I love that idea.
I mean, this should just be something that's part of our everyday talk. Like we'd have a conversation. We started the call with, how are you? Great. How have you helped someone today?
Brilliant.
Wouldn't that be great if that replaced how are you?
I think that's great.
How have you helped someone today? I'll be like, Steph, how'd you help someone today? And you'll be like, well, on Strava.
Exactly. I'm telling you, there needs to be an app for this.
I-
Because then
yes.
the housewives of the world
they would want it.
love to be on the leaderboard.
100%. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
well, this is something we need to do.
I'm
anyway.
excited.
Oh, and sorry, Love is Blind. I went back. Luxury. This one person, Sophie, she became the villain of Love is Blind. He said, what is your goal? I think this is when he dropped her as a romantic partner and moved on to the other. But he said, what's your goal? And she says, to collect a certain amount of luxury bags by the time I'm a certain age.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad he dropped her.
Yeah, I am too. But I was
she doesn't
like,
have effective.
man, if we can just pivot that social currency to giving back, what a great world we would be
Because
in.
that's where I thought you were going with it. I thought you were going to say to donate a certain amount of money or to raise a certain amount of money for a cause by a certain age. No.
It just
Luxury
seems like
hand.
we're not getting that much smarter with our money. I don't know. Anyway, social currency, let's increase it for giving back and generosity.
Agreed. Let's put it in the stream of commerce.
Okay, I think we have a business plan to
I'm
work on.
excited. We're going to be founders. Let's make it happen.
All right, thanks, Court.
Thanks, Steph.
We'll be right back. Escape into a Cause is sponsored by Nightlight Insurance Agency. You know how a nightlight gives you comfort and peace of mind in the dark? That's exactly what Nightlight aims to do. Guide you through life's uncertainties with personalized insurance for your home, auto, business, and more. Nightlight Insurance strives to provide its clients the best coverage at the best price without sacrificing on customer service. Here's what one client had to say. Nightlight was able to lower our car insurance significantly, answered all our questions, and returned our calls promptly. Very professional, would highly recommend. So it's no surprise Nightlight has a 5-star rating on Google. Nightlight also makes this podcast possible by covering production costs so all other sponsorship dollars and gifts can go directly to nonprofits and volunteers. And as part of their mission to give back, Nightlight proudly donates $1,000 to every nonprofit we interview. If you are a sponsor interested in giving back to our podcast, please find us on social media and let us know. Nightlight is an agency focused on personalized service and giving back. See how much you could save and how good it feels to have peace of mind by visiting nightlightinsurance.com. We are escaping into NAMI Central Texas.
Escape into NAMI.
We're escaping into the cause. I've got Colleen Gallion, Interim Executive Director at NAMI Central Texas.
Yeah.
Hi, Colleen.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited you're here. We were just chatting forever before we started recording because we both have corporate backgrounds.
Yes.
And you have a background focused on change management. Is that right?
Yeah, change management, executive leadership, learning and development. So all of the stuff that helps
adults in corporate settings do a better job and be better leaders is what I've done for the last 20 years. And I have worked in partnership with nonprofit in the past, but this is the first time I'm fully immersed in the nonprofit universe, which is really exciting. And so far, I'm really loving it.
Great. Welcome. I don't think people understand change management is so difficult to implement across the company. Most companies actually aren't effective in change management.
It's the part of an organization that relies on people behaving the way you want them to. So good luck with that. But change management and risk management are the two aspects in organizations that are huge blind spots that make or break the deployment of almost anything. And they're also the things that are the most likely to not be baked into the programming and baked into the process. So in tech, which is where I spent a lot of time, you have a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. That's always one of those high values within a lot of tech spaces. And when you come in with change management and risk management, you have to manage it carefully because you can easily sound like Chicken Little or Debbie Downer. You're like, what if this goes wrong? No, don't think like that. This is a can-do place. Don't break. It's like until you deploy it and it breaks the system, or you deploy the new, I'm like thinking back to deployments where deployed the new robust upgrade to your Salesforce system or whatever, and all of your frontline people just literally ignore it and work around it because they didn't like it.
Exactly. You see that all the time. And so that's so transferable of a skill. A lot of skills are transferable between nonprofits and for-profit. But I just wanted to point that out, and I'm interested in that because I love when I see people go from the corporate side, especially in something like change management, strategy, and they flip over to the nonprofit space.
Yeah, it's interesting because I actually went to my very first nonprofit conference this week, and I texted my husband and I said, I think I may have actually found my tribe, because it's this real sweet spot between like quixotic idealism of people who are taking on endemic challenges with an attitude of, no, this is possible. We can bring mental health resources to rural communities, to inner city communities, to underserved. But unlike other nonprofit scenarios I've been in, or within the kind of coaching or self-help community, which can be very idealistic to the degree of almost being unrealistic, these are boots on the ground, pragmatic people who understand the lived reality of, I've got to figure out how to do all this with 5 minutes and $50. How am I going to do that and make it happen? And that's what's exciting to me, is working alongside people who understand that an ideal solution may not be possible, but we can still try to move incrementally towards it. And that feels really exciting to me, because that's, to me, what great problem solving is no, we're not going to be able to change the world tomorrow, but like in change management or in coaching or in all the crazy other things I've done in my career. Okay, if we're at a 3 today, what are the things that are within our sphere of control that we can do that will take us from a 3 to a 4? Let's get there. And then once we're at a 4, we can figure out how we're going to get to a 5.
Baby steps.
Exactly. Incremental change, which is always most effective, especially with things in the world moving as fast as they do. By the time you get from 3 to 4, enough things may have changed that what you thought 5 was going to be is going to be something completely different. It's like having a 3 to 5 year strategic plan, a strategic roadmap. We're going to call it that when we finally deploy ours in 2026, because we're working on it right now, but it's going to look much more like a strategic playbook, because we can anticipate that by the time we get to milestone 1, what we thought milestone 2 is going to be different. It's like in tech circles, when we all made the transition from waterfall to agile, you have to have that built-in assumption that things are going to change as you're going. So build your programming, build your strategy with that in mind. And I think what I'm learning in the nonprofit space is, I think that's a gift that the nonprofit space can take from tech and corporate, is that flexibility and realizing that what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow, and we need to be flexible, and we need to be able to not just measure activity, but measure impact and measure success, and get clear about what success looks like for us.
Yeah, you come from a place of experience,
Yeah.
which is why you know that. I used to want to make so much change so quickly at one of my past companies, and it was a Geneva, Switzerland-based company, all French, and they go, Stephanie, petit à petit. Little by little. Slow your roll.
Oh my God. I had a boss, God bless him, and his little nickname for me was the ghost of Christmas future, because I would do the same thing. I'd be like, but we could be here and we could do this. He's like, listen, ghost of Christmas future, let's just be here now. Let's be with what is.
That's great. See, we're like running at 100, right?
You see what's possible, which is a huge gift and comes with its own blind spots.
I think you need both.
Yeah.
So you need that person who's, hey, we need to first accomplish XYZ, but I see where you're going. And then there's a vision ahead that we're working towards. Okay. So let's talk about NAMI Central Texas, National Alliance on Mental Health. Tell me, this is a national organization.
Yes. So there's the national organization, then there's a statewide organization. So here in the Austin area, we have NAMI Texas and NAMI Central Texas. And one would imagine that it was like, oh, we're just a subchapter of NAMI Texas. But the way that the organization is structured is we are our own nonprofit under the supervision of NAMI National. Our role as NAMI Central Texas is to be the boots on the ground, providing resources, education, support for the people of the Central Texas area through programming, through tabling. For example, we're going to be at the Cedar Park Health Fair, providing information, providing resources. NAMI Texas does a fantastic job of providing us with all of the educational materials. So when we need to train people up to be facilitators for our groups, NAMI Texas is the person who helps provide those for us. And so we do different things, but we work in collaboration with each other.
Great. And what is the mission of NAMI?
The mission of NAMI, I'm not going to get what's on the website, but I'm going to tell you my version of the mission of
Love
NAMI,
it.
which is that anyone experiencing the challenges of mental illness, either for themselves or family members or loved ones, never has to walk alone. Dealing with a mental illness is terrifying and overwhelming and daunting and confusing, and our health system does not make that any easier. And NAMI is here to come alongside you and to help educate you, help provide resources and support for those who are going through a mental illness and for those people who care for someone going through a mental illness.
Yeah. And when I think about what you just said, our health system, I think most people would agree that it's broken.
Yeah, not ideal.
Not ideal. And we're not even getting into government or it's just broken.
Yeah.
Privatized government involvement.
Yeah.
It's broken. And it's broken for the physical health. It's even more broken for mental health.
Oh, yeah. I'll just speak from personal experience. Post-COVID, the blessing and the curse of COVID is whatever underlying mental health challenges both of my children had just came right on up to the surface with the COVID lockdown and all that. And thankfully, I was in an economic place where I could afford to pay out of pocket to get my kids the help and support that they needed. I joke that I could probably have a vacation home for the amount of money I have spent over the last 5 years on those resources, but most people don't have that luxury. Even if you have insurance and you go online, the wait list for some places is going to be really long, or they'll take your insurance for physical stuff, but they don't take it for mental health. It's just really convoluted and confusing. And you're already in a crisis point, and then you're trying to figure out, how do I get my loved one the support they need? And insurance is not being helpful. And I know I'm dear friends with some people who are in private practice who no longer take insurance because however that process works, they feel like they are not in a position to be able to help their patients and maintain confidentiality while accepting insurance, which I don't understand the back end of that, but it's HIPAA violate. You know, it's as broken as it is for medical, it is more broken when we're dealing with mental health challenges. So having an organization that can help you and your loved one navigate that and hopefully find some alternative solutions. And then on the legislative side, NAMI National and NAMI State is there. So our partners at NAMI Texas are there at the Capitol advocating, lobbying for better resources, better laws to help support the mental health of the people of Texas.
Good. I love to hear that. My dad is a GP, a family doctor, and he has always said, Stephanie, the physical is easy. I study hard. I've learned it all. And even when I've made mistakes, I've learned,
Right.
he's evolved. He says, the mental, I don't understand it. I don't get it. And he's
Yeah.
always been really open about that. I mean, of course, he's not trained in it,
Right.
but at the same time, he just thinks that it's very challenging to diagnose and to detect.
For sure. I have ADHD and some other neurofanciness. And so I have a psychiatrist that I work with for my meds. And we were talking about diagnoses. He's like, okay, think of them like a Venn diagram. Like you land somewhere in the Venn diagram of ADHD, generalized anxiety, whatever the deal is. He's like, and so then we're looking at prescription medicines that are going to fit into that. But then we have to test because how that one works in your body may not be the same as how it works in someone else's body. It's much less black and white. Not that physical medicine's black and white, but it just gets murkier when you're dealing with mental illness. And then providing support for those family members, caring for a loved one who is struggling with a mental illness is profoundly taxing. And I think that there's so many people who suffer in silence because of shame, because they don't know that there's resources available to admit to someone like, hey, my child has bipolar disorder and I am afraid for them and I'm afraid of them sometimes. That's a horribly difficult conversation to have. And knowing that there's a support group full of people who are going to be completely unfazed by what you're saying. You're like, oh, dude, that was me last week. How wonderful is that? I have a friend who was part of a NAMI support group, and she was telling me her story. She teased because she was like, I thought they were going to kick me out because my challenges were so small in comparison to what these other people were going through. It was so encouraging, but also so humbling to hear the stories of people with kids who had severe mental health challenges and the things they had to deal with, like being really concerned for your child's safety, trying to determine whether or not do I need to put my kid in an inpatient facility, those kind of struggles, and knowing that NAMI's there, that there's people there who can be a resource to you, that you can just bounce things off of. And so you're not alone.
Yeah. And I think it's wonderful that you're sharing, right, about your children and your own experience with mental health, because that hopefully over time eliminates the stigma.
Right. A phrase that's used throughout NAMI, if you go on the website or anything, is the lived experience. And that's something that we're all really passionate about. This isn't about people being saviors, stepping in. No, there's not a person who's involved in NAMI who does not have some kind of lived experience that they're bringing to the table. So many of our volunteers, their story is basically, NAMI saved my life, and this is how I'm giving back. Because NAMI was there for them when they desperately needed support. And I didn't know about NAMI back in 2020. And I think being able to be part of a support group in those early days when it really was just confusing and we didn't quite know what was going on would have been really helpful. Thankfully, I have a good support group of friends. And for whatever reason, I have collected a lot of mental health professionals in my friend group. So I was able to literally do the phone a friend, like, okay, what is this? What is happening? And they're like, okay, it could be this. Maybe call this person. I'm like, okay, I'll text you back.
I know I'm the worst with my dad. I call my
I
dad
would've
all
been.
the time. I literally put my son's shoulder back in place with a FaceTime with my dad.
The phone a friend is so key, right? You're like, okay, is this? And he's like, I would be the hypochondriac child. I'd be like, is this rash cancer? It's not cancer, Colleen. Don't give me your dad's number because I'll be sending him photos.
But
I'd be like,
he has the worst bedside manner with his children. It's always going to be the worst with your children.
Always.
But I am the PSA, like I am very cognizant of going to like mental health or doctors, anyone, and just asking them questions all the time because I know they get asked all the time. It's like a running joke, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're at a happy hour and they're like, "Oh, you're a doctor? Hey, can you look at this?"
Is this my mole room? Yeah, no, for sure.
Going back though to the stigma of mental health, I think another thing I think of often is, okay, if I'm going to tell my employer, like my manager, hey, I have some type of disease or cancer or physical ailment that requires me to go to the doctor on a weekly basis. I need to be out for this hour and a half every week. It feels very different when you have to go say, I'm going to go be out for an hour each week for my mental health because of a mental ailment, right? And so I think that's the stigma, right? And the misconception around mental versus physical health.
Absolutely. I can think back to, because my roles in corporate, I was joking, I'm like, I know just enough about HR to be dangerous. I was always HR adjacent. And as much as you have privacy protection, as much as there's all of the laws to protect you when it comes to disclosure in the workplace, to go to your boss or your HR professional and say, this is what's going on, and this is the mental illness that I'm dealing with, and this is the treatment protocol that I need to follow in order to get that addressed, whatever that might be. I can't promise anyone that that's not going to come back and bite them because I've just heard too many stories, and that's really unfortunate. I think there are smart ways to navigate that. You don't have to tell them the why. You just need to tell them I have a medical situation. That medical situation requires that I have a weekly appointment. And as much as I wish I could say, no, tell them that you were just recently diagnosed with schizophrenia, it'll be fine. I absolutely cannot tell you that. We still hold a stigma around mental illness that it's someone's fault, that it's because you had a bad childhood or because you have bad genes or because you were a bad parent and that's why your kid's experiencing what they're experiencing. We still feel a need to build a narrative around why it happened because again, you can't see it. And so you can't be like, he fell out of the tree and broke his leg. That's how that happened. Humans are meaning-making machines. Our brains need to find a reason. And when there isn't one, we will just make one up. It's what our brains do. And when it comes to mental illness, just the reality of genetics plus environment plus heaven only knows what came together in such a way as to trigger this manifesting. And that's just the way it is. There's no one to blame. All we can do is do what needs to be done to help heal that wound or manage that situation. But it's so difficult to do when you feel embarrassed or ashamed. Again, just yesterday, I was talking with my daughter. It's beginning of the school year. It's always a rough transition, right?
And she's in what grade?
She's a sophomore. And she goes, I know this isn't true, but I have moments when I just feel so ashamed because you don't deserve to have a child that's as broken as I am. And of course, as I'm like ugly crying, but I heard her. I'm like, I get that. And I think that's true. If you have any kind of condition you don't want to have, but that shame, that sense of I should be able to talk myself out of this, or if I was just stronger, if I was just better, if I just tried harder, I wouldn't feel this way. The brutal thing about mental illness is your brain's working against you, right? There's something going on where your brain's telling you a story that isn't true, that's keeping you from getting help, that's keeping you from reaching out. And then when you do reach out, if the world responds the way you fear it will respond rather than the way you wish it would respond, whoo, that's a recipe for disaster. I know that so many people, so many parents especially, are just paralyzed. Okay, I see something's going on with my kid, but I don't want to say the wrong thing because I don't want to make things worse. Go on the NAMI website, tons of resources. We will help you figure out what to say, what symptoms to look for, what are the next steps, where you can get support, because nobody wants to walk on eggshells in their own home. And when you're dealing with someone, especially without it being diagnosed, you're like, I know something's up, but is this normal teenager, young adult stuff?
Right. That's hard for a parent to determine. So one is it's hard to detect. Is this enough to start going and getting help? And also to your point, if I say the wrong thing or one day I just say one thing, could it come off as another thing? Right.
Or think about like a coworker. You're like, something's going on with Judy. What do you say? What do you do? If you're concerned about someone, you don't want to be like, girl, I think you got gone crazy. Maybe.
Or I've seen this. I've seen performance sway a lot. One day they're performing super, super well. This is a direct report.
Right.
And then a couple months later, they're not on the radar. Like they're not responsive. They're not, right. And so these swings. And so those are questions that it's like, how do we reach out? Because we think it's bigger than, just the work itself.
Now I'm like putting on my executive coach hat for a second. I'm like, that's like the perfect say which situation. We're like, I'm noticing that last month, got all your reports in on time, you were cameras on your calls, whatever those things are. And what I've seen is over the last couple months is a real drop off on that. And I'm curious, have you noticed that too?
Yeah.
And then see what shows up. See if there's a readiness for that conversation. Because if they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, they're either in denial or they know, but they don't want to talk about it with you. Okay, now you have that information. But if they're like, yeah, and then sometimes they might be more willing to disclose.
Yeah, and it might not be a mental health. It might be a short-term personal situation. But when you continue to see the swing, it's always, maybe we need to talk about this in some way.
When we think about mental illness, it can, like with our bodies, it can be anything from like the mental health equivalent of a bad cold, like you had a bad breakup or whatever. That doesn't mean that doesn't require some mental health support. It's not the same as you have bipolar. like those require different, but both do deserve to be addressed, and not just, we're very much like a suck it up, walk it off culture, especially in Texas. Like we're like, suck it up, cowboy up.
And that's the two sides of the coin, I think, with social media. Is
Yeah.
one side, I think it's been really good because it has spread awareness of mental health more than I think previous generations. But on the flip side, to your point, you can have a cold or you can have cancer, right? From physicality, right? Mental health is the same, right? Like
TikTok has become like WebMD.
oh my
in this
gosh,
weird
the
way.
misinformation
Yeah.
and the self-diagnosis or the diagnosis of other people without having any professional in the room.
Right.
My ex-boyfriend's a narcissist.
Everyone's ex-boyfriend is a narcissist, girl. It's all right. We know.
Everyone that has anything that triggers them, they're dealing with deep trauma. It's just that you
Right.
kind of have these reoccurring themes. And so that gets a little bit overkill. But anyway, good and bad. I'll put it out there and I'll just leave it at that. I do want to talk. So NAMI has impacted over 8,000 individuals and families each year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of families just for Central Texas.
Yes.
That's amazing. And I know increasing awareness and decreasing stigma in the community, in addition to serving those individuals and families, again, is really what NAMI is about, is
Yeah.
making sure that we are able to talk about these things and it doesn't come with that negative stigma that we're discussing. And your team in Central Texas is a really small team. It's
Yeah.
only 4 paid staff.
Yeah.
And I love just hearing the staff of these nonprofits because that's so much impact in such a small staff.
Shout out to my Central Texas peeps. All care so deeply about the mission. And one of the things I love the most about all 3 of them is they're just the roll up your sleeves and figure it out. And like we've talked about, I am new to the organization and they have just so risen to the occasion where I'm like, okay, I know this needs to be done. I've looked in 15 share folders. They're like, oh, no problem, and getting me what I need so I can help move things forward. But the heart and soul of the organization really is our partners and our volunteers. For example, we're partnering with an organization that is, and I'm not going to say it in Spanish because my Spanish isn't great, but it's Good Samaritans is the name of the organization in Spanish. And they provide all sorts of social support resources for Spanish speakers. But what they didn't have was any mental health resources. So we're going in and training up their staff and their volunteers to be able to provide NAMI programs in Spanish for the people who come to their center for the other resources. So people go someplace where they already know people, someplace they're already comfortable going. And in addition to getting help with groceries or getting help with medical, they also have access to some mental health support. Those are the kind of virtuous cycle partnerships that we're really wanting to make throughout the Central Texas area. Those are the kind of partnerships. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, we could help you with that, just call us. That's the kind of partnerships we have. And then for our peer-to-peer and family-to-family programs, those are almost exclusively hosted by volunteers who have gone through a really rigorous training to be able to host those programs. They happen in person and they happen virtually. And those are a lot of the people who being in that room at some point in their life was really life-changing. And so they take the time and the energy to go through the training and come back and volunteer in order to give back and to pay it forward.
That's what makes your life significant. Putting in that time to make a positive impact on others
Right.
before you leave this world. I love to hear that they're paying it back.
Yeah.
I want to just talk about maybe a story or two that helps listeners connect them to NAMI. I know recently you ran into a friend. Is that right?
My friend Jane, she's amazing. And she found out that I was the new interim executive director, and she literally did a little squeal happy dance, which is very Jane, but also it's just very adorable. And she and I have always been friends, but we're very close because her youngest and my youngest have very similar challenges. So she's one of my phone a friend friends. I'm like, did Alex go through? She's like, yes, her sophomore year looked just like that. I'm like, okay. So gives me some guidance. But she shared with me how when her youngest was diagnosed with depression, she was utterly overwhelmed, scared, because it's Suicide Awareness Month. It's very real. And as a parent, there's nothing more terrifying than having to do, are you safe? Are you having these thoughts? Do you have a plan? Going through those questions with your child is incredibly terrifying.
And it's incredible how many parents have had to think about having that conversation with their children.
And how many parents who, in grief after the fact, wish that they had known to even ask those questions. And so her youngest was diagnosed with depression. She wanted to make sure she was doing everything in her power to show up. Went online. NAMI had the family to family, it's an 8-week course, and she took the course. We have a new one starting in the end of September. For anybody who wants more information, go on the website. A lot of times these classes have waiting lists. This one, is room in the class. So if you're interested, go on the website.
This is for families.
This is for families supporting someone with a mental illness. And she's like, I left at the end of those 8 weeks. I had a binder 2 inches thick, full of information and resources that I could look back on. And I felt confident and empowered that I knew what I needed to do to help my child succeed, survive, overcome the challenges of living with depression. It just blew my mind because it's one of those things where you can't save everyone, but knowing you had that one person and knowing that child and saying, the work this organization has done helped this mom make sure her kid made it through adolescence. And this kid, by the way, is now happy, healthy, went on to college. They're a fantastically talented graphic designer, living their best life. It's all good, super happy ending. The other story, when I was talking, as I was getting to know the staff and getting to know the programs, I was talking to Susan, who is the person who manages our family to family programs. And I said, give me an example of the program that to you is something that NAMI does that no one else is doing. And she said, we provide family to family programs for families of people who are incarcerated and have a mental illness, helping them know how to support their incarcerated family member while they're behind bars. I almost just started crying on the Zoom call because I was like, what a horrible situation to be in. And back to like broken systems, like how many people are in prison that should be in a mental health facility? Lots. It's just the reality of our system as it exists today. We can't fix that, but what we can fix is providing support and resources to their family members so their family members can be advocates for them on the outside so they get the help they need while they're inside.
Yeah, we actually have a guest that we'll be speaking with in a month or so about prisons and a little. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into that because I'm going to mess up their mission.
But I'll listen for it.
Yeah.
And then I'll stalk them afterwards.
Yeah,
they're warned. You're warned.
It should be good. Okay, and then I always ask a guest good bragging rights. I just want to know, is there something that you've done recently that you can look back on and you're proud of yourself for, or there's a small act of kindness or something with a nonprofit? Is there something that you can share?
Yes, it has nothing to do with a nonprofit, but it is a quintessentially Colleen thing, much to my children's mortification. I'm a public hugger. Like if you look like you need a hug, I will walk up to you and ask you if you would like a hug, and I will give it to you. And I give Disney hugs. Do you know what a Disney hug is?
Oh, like a big one?
Yeah,
or
no,
like
but the rule, if you
okay.
if a Disney character is giving a kid a hug, they don't let go until they feel the kid let go.
That's right. Right after I talked, I was like, oh, I remember that.
So
that they have
I
this.
hug strangers and I give Disney hugs. Just know, now people are going to find me on the street. I'm like, it's fine. I have the free mom hug shirt. I'm kind of notorious for it, but I was just recently at brunch with my mom. We went to this little place we'd never been to before, and there was only one person working. So she was the cashier, she was the cook, she was bringing the food out. It all went very sideways. And like, we're waiting for like 25 minutes. Nobody had food, whatever. And then I see her coming past and I was waving her down to just get an update because we understood, like we knew it was going to be a little dicey because it was just her. Wave her down. I see her and she's just got tears streaming down her face. And so, of course, I just get up and I'm like, would you like a hug? And I hugged her. And then she just cried in my arms. And I told her that I was proud of her, which I was, and that she was doing the best she could, and that none of us were mad at her. Like, just said all the things. If I was there and I was crying, what would I want someone to say to me? And I think the reason I'm proud of it is because, one, it's just hilariously ridiculous because it's just what I do. But also, it's just to me a reminder that we're all humans and we're all really doing the best we can. And we live in a world right now, especially, where things can be so divisive and we can find a million reasons to disagree with each other or to other each other. And anytime you take the opportunity to see another human being and to be with them in their humanity, you will never regret it. You will leave a better person for it, as will they.
I believe that with all my heart. I love that good brag. Thank you for sharing. Okay, listeners' chance for good bragging rights. Just real quick, how do listeners of Escape into a Cause show up for NAMI Central Texas?
Our walk is October 18th, and go online, form a team, raise funds, come and walk with us. It's a fun little walk. It's from the Parmer Event Center to the Capitol and back, and there's a little festival inside the Parmer Event Center at the end. There is a little petting zoo if that's enough of a compulsion. If you're like, I'm willing to do just about anything to be able to cuddle a hedgehog, we can make that happen for you. But that is really the biggest thing that people can do. In addition, if you're like, I can't do the walk, you can donate to the walk. Also, if you're a big fraternity, a bunch of big, strong guys, we need hands and people who can do heavy lifting the day before and the day of. So if you're interested or your group's interested, just email us and we will get you connected and coordinated.
Volunteer, donate, show up for that walk.
Yes.
And I know every nonprofit, the way that they sustain this work is reoccurring donations.
Yes.
I just have on here $50 covers the cost of materials for one participant for 8 weeks. $100 covers the cost of materials for one of NAMI support groups. And $250 covers the cost of one monthly support group for the Spanish-speaking community. Just think about how those little dollars add up.
Absolutely.
And I can't speak enough because I hear nonprofits every day, just the reoccurring donations. Just,
Yes.
If you can sign up, set it and forget it.
Yeah.
If you can, if you have it.
You can do $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever makes sense for you. We will take it.
Great. NAMI Walk, October 18th. Make sure to connect with NAMI. What's the best way to connect with NAMI Central Texas?
NAMICentralTX.org website, and it will take you wherever you need to be.
Great. And then make sure you remember company donation matches. And of course, you can even form a walk team with your colleagues.
Yes. And if your company does matching, we can help make the matchy match thing happen.
I hope that people show up for NAMI Central Texas because what y'all are doing is so amazing. Thanks so much, Colleen.
Thank you.
It's great.
It's been a great time. It's a pleasure.
I really loved how Colleen talked about finding her people at NAMI coming from a corporate background. This is one of her passions. And during her short journey, she's already running into people who feel the same way. NAMI is a place where people show up for each other and make sure no one faces mental health challenges alone. So, how can you earn some good bragging rights by showing up for NAMI Central Texas? You can donate, help sustain their program so individuals and families do not have to navigate mental health in isolation. You can join the NAMI Walks. Mark your calendar for October 18th. It is the largest mental health event series in the country and a celebration of stories, community, and progress. Spread the word. Share NAMI's resources, start the conversation about mental health in your community with friends, with family, and help chip away at the stigma that still surrounds it. And if you want to be rewarded for giving back, because who doesn't, you can even win Texas Stars hockey tickets by signing up or posting your #GoodBrag. And with that, thank you to Nightlight Insurance Agency for presenting Escape Into a Cause. Thank you to Colleen Gallion, as well as the NAMI Central Texas team for letting us feature you and a great conversation. Thank you to Todd Thompson for editing and mixing, Graham Thompson and Jaden Dyer for the music, Corey McCain at Just Push Record Studios, and Ashlyn O'Neill for digital content. Next week, we are escaping into Girl Forward, a nonprofit creating opportunities, mentorship, and safe community for girls who are refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants here in Austin. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you next week as we escape into a cause.